everyone, Miss Carrie here from Miss Carrie's Creations. Welcome to another Tuesday tip. In my recent craft room tour video, I talked to you about my swatch binder, but I did not show it to you. Today, I am going to show you all of the swatches that I have created and show you a few ways that you can make some of your own. I keep all of my swatches in my Happy Planner along with all of my calendars and social media planners. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you how I put that all together and give you a few other options for organizing your swatches. So if you've never made a swatch before, let me explain them to you. These are the examples of different coloring mediums or different paints or items that you have in your craft room. By creating swatches, I am able to see the true color of the paint or the marker that I am using and how it's going to look on my paper crafting project. Today I'm going to share with you how I created these watercolor swatches and how I create swatches for my TriBlend markers. So I just received 3 new TriBlend markers in the mail today, and I'm going to be adding those swatches onto my swatch chart. I have 2 Spectrum Noir color charts in my binder. The one that's over there on the right was created by a fellow consultant. Her name is Stephanie Fiorentino. I hope I said that correctly. The other one is a color chart that was created by Spectrum Noir, and that is downloadable on their website. If you are new to TriBlend markers, let me explain these to you. There are 3 colors in one marker, a light, a medium, and a dark. All 3 colors are meant to blend together. I love having all 3 colors in one marker because I don't need to search through a bin of markers to find a matching color when I'm creating shading. I'm going to start with the Spectrum Noir chart first. I'm just going to look at the color codes on my marker and match them up with the color codes on the chart. It's really simple. I am going to fill in each square with the true color. Now, some people will fill in each square with the lighter color first and then color over with the darker shade or the medium tone, because that's how you often use these TriBlends. I prefer to fill in both of my charts with the true color because sometimes I don't blend my markers the way they are supposed to be blended. Sometimes I just use the color as is. So as you can see, I'm just going back and forth between the 2 charts, adding that light, medium, and dark tone to each one of my charts. And then once I have finished with this pink violet color, I'm going to go ahead and open up my second marker and repeat this process. So while I'm adding this second color, I want you to pay attention to that purple color that I added a second ago. The color is changing as that marker dries. This is the purpose of making swatches. Any type of watercolor or paint or marker often changes color as it dries. And by having a swatch, I'm able to see its true color after the medium has set. So now I have both of these charts all filled out with my new markers. Let me go ahead and show you how I create my watercolor swatches. If you have ever used watercolor paints, you know that the color changes as it dries. You can also change the color when you add more water to the watercolor pigment. It is for this reason that I create my swatches with 3 different colors. The bottom color has hardly any water, so it is a much more intense pigment. The second color has a little bit more water added, and the third color has a lot of water added to that pigment. So I'm able to see a variation in color depending on how much water I'm adding onto the pigment. I am creating these swatches directly onto some pieces of watercolor paper. Once I have finished with all of these swatches and they have dried, you're going to see that the color fades quite a bit. Once again, this is why I create swatches. Not only am I able to see the true color after the paint has dried, but I'm able to match these colors with any of my pattern papers and figure out which ones I should use when I'm working on a project. The next step is to label my watercolor palette and label my swatches. Now, I could write these numbers, but I have this horrible case of OCD and I love labeling things. So I have grabbed my labeler. I am going to go ahead and change the font size to a super small font size. And then I'm going to type in the numbers 1 through 32, and I'm going to print it out twice on some clear label tape. After I have trimmed down the labels and cut out all of the numbers, I'm going to go ahead and label my watercolor palette. Now this may seem a bit tedious, and like I said, I could just take a marker and write down all of the numbers on my watercolor palette, but these labels are much clearer for people to see when I am teaching live classes and doing videos. People are able to see what colors I'm using on my watercolor palette when I'm showing them how to color an image with these watercolor paints. This task is actually not too difficult to do. Using a pair of tweezers, I'm just going to stick down each one of the numbers until I have all of the watercolor paints labeled. Now I'm going to go ahead and get a piece of cardstock and lay out each one of my watercolor swatches. Originally, I had laid these out on a single piece of cardstock, but then I realized that I was going to have a 2-page spread in my swatch book, so I ended up changing the colors so that they went across both of the pages. Once I had adhered all of my swatches down onto this cardstock, then I added all of those little label numbers to correlate with the pigments on my watercolor palette. Now that I have labeled all of these items, I can go ahead and add the swatches to my binder. I have discovered that the We Are Memory Keepers disc punch works perfectly for adding these items to the Happy Planners. It pops right into those discs. Now, you could also buy discs separately to create your own swatch notebook if you would like to. If you're not a fan of these little discs, you could also grab yourself a little 6x8 binder or an 8.5x11 binder and keep all of your swatches in a 3-ring binder. For me, it works best to have all of my swatches with my planner so that all I have to do is carry this single book with me everywhere I go. I take this with me when I go shopping or when I go to expos so that I don't end up buying the same item twice. And I'm also able to look at these reference charts whenever I'm creating to see what is going to match a specific paper pattern. If you enjoyed today's Tuesday tip, go ahead and check out some of my other Tuesday tips by clicking on that collection icon above. While you're at it, go ahead and click that subscribe button so that you are notified when I add new videos to this channel. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what you create.